Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Cafecito Coffee Side Chat. I'm Irma, founder of Cafecito, and today we have Damien, who is the founder of Dawn, and he'll be talking with us today a little bit about building in public. He built a really great project management tool that kind of takes a different spin on how we plan, and not only for ourselves, but also with teams as well. So we'll be diving into that, and then just going through his journey. How has it all been going? And it should be a really great conversation. So if you want to just put this on as you're kind of working on other tasks in the background, I think it'll be a really awesome listen. And just as a reminder, Cafecito is a platform that curates serendipitous connections between individuals and organizations. And so we have a community side of our product where we run these side chats and we bring on founders, tech folks. Here's my cat, and just experts from all over the world to share their stories and give us a good way to learn from them, their challenges, and also just get any advice on their own journey. I think we all come from different perspectives, we have different journeys, and I think the more that we can share how we're doing what we're doing, how we're failing, and what we're succeeding at, and how that's all going, I think it really helps just put the knowledge out there, right? More knowledge, the more knowledge, the better. So super excited to just dive in with Damien. And before we dive in, actually, Damien, how's your day going?
Yeah, it's going pretty good.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today, and hopefully we can chat about some important topics
Yeah.
and see where we go.
Perfect. Cool. Yeah, super excited to have you on. So first things first, let's get started with kind of just Dawn. So Dawn is your product. Can you kind of walk me through what is Dawn all about? So at a high level, how would you explain Dawn to somebody? And then kind of the catalyst, like what led you to start building Dawn in the first place?
Yeah, so Dawn is a project management tool, but with a pretty big emphasis on the mental health of people. It's something that's been pretty important to my wife and I. We both the founders of Dawn, and it's something that we pretty much started in the background, in the background of our minds, probably a few years back, based on the experiences that we were both going through, and with the pandemic that hit the world in 2020, it's something that came back to the foreground, and we started to think about what could be a tool that would help teams work in a more mindful manner, without sacrificing productivity, of course. But with all of these challenges that people were experiencing, we really started to deep dive into a solution that would help people to still work from wherever they would work, but with having a little bit of a more mindful manner and more mindful approach to work. Because we really believe that as soon as you start caring about individuals and their journeys and what they're going through, then it benefits the team as a whole. So that's kind of how it started in the first place.
Awesome. Yeah, and I love the kind of like how you're using mental health and also just like moods, right? So like how you're feeling. And I think you haven't yet released the mood tracker side of it, but I'm really looking forward to that because I know for me at least like how my productivity just changes depending on how I'm feeling. So if I'm like having a great day, maybe I've had like, three really good conversations or I got this big task done, my mood's like pretty high and I'm ready for kind of anything. But if you have a bad start to your morning or I don't know, you get a flat tire that morning, it kind of like just ruins the whole day. So can you talk more about like how you kind of see that mental health, um, being able to understand how you're feeling, your moods, how could that can start to impact your work, kind of your work around you as any whatever role you're doing, right? Like how that impacts the rest of your day.
Yeah, it's something that's always been, like it's not been surprising, but all of the companies that we worked at, both my wife and I in the past, it's always about productivity, and productivity is just like all of these kind of metrics. It's like, oh, you've got X number of tasks done, this project is moving forward. It's not really taking in consideration all of the human aspect of a project or a task. And it's something that we wanted to bring into Dawn by having sort of a mood tracker, and it's one of the aspects that we want to bring into the product that relates to mental health as a whole. But like you said, mood is a very important thing. If you're not really in the mood of doing something, then it's not going to be qualitative. And if it's not qualitative, then it impacts everything else that is coming after that. And it's something that we wanted to do is have a bit more of an individual well-being side of things into the product, so people as individuals would be able to track their mood, kind of see how it relates to their productivity as a whole. It would also help teams be a bit more mindful about how, oh, this person might be going through a rough patch. Is there any way that we can help them? And also have some kind of way to bring recommendations for people. If they've been really feeling down for a certain amount of time, then they would get that's something that's coming later in the product, but they would get recommendations about some things they could do to make their mood be a little bit better. And then, we kind of see this as a productivity. Like I said, it's not really just about the tasks that you're doing. It's not these kinds of metrics. It's everything else that life brings into the mix, and it's the personal situations that you're in. It's are you in a good shape? Are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? All of these kinds of things, they really impact the quality of the work that you put in. And we see individuals looking after themselves after being a really good thing for teams moving forward. Whether it's teams is not just like you've done X and X and X. It's individuals first, and once you've got that sorted, then teams are going to be so much stronger, and they're going to be working so much better together. That's kind of the mission that's driving us. We don't really.
Yeah. That's super cool. Yeah, I just love this this whole side of it. Like, it's very interesting to me, and I wonder, like, it'd be really interesting, like, if the product was able to, sort of not really analyze, but sort of take pulse of like how everybody is doing individually in the beginning of using Dawn, and then how that over time, right, starts to help not only the individual, which is like, super, super important, but then the team as a whole, and how they're all working better together. Because Dawn is sending like recommendations or, tips or advice, or, hey, check in with your coworker, or help them with this task they might be struggling. I think those are really interesting, kind of like in the moment, like support that Dawn could give to individuals, and then at the wider kind of the wider set kind of team as well. So yeah, I'm a big fan of like this side of Dawn, and how you're kind of just keeping this top of mind. I think not a lot of applications or companies do that very well, and so probably a really big opportunity to really like have Dawn be like a really strong leader potentially, right? And how you work with your team, and how tools can not only look at like, hey, you completed 100 tasks, but like, how did you feel completing those 100 tasks in the past year? Like, were you like, happy the whole time? Did you have days where your productivity maybe dropped because of some external factor? So yeah, just wanted to say, like, again, I guess, like, big fan of that side of it for sure.
Thank you. Yeah. We really see this as a, like, there's all of these productivity tools that are doing something for teams. They are already bringing a lot more clarity into the kind of tasks and projects that you're working on as a team, in terms of the communications as well. But we really want to bring something a lot more personal. And, like, the pandemic has really been driving this a lot more for a lot of companies. And we are very aware that we're not going to be for everyone. Like, not everyone is going to be looking into a more mindful approach to work. But we see that there's something to be done, and it's not just the tool. It's also like kind of a like, it's a way of life as well, because life and work are very much related. There's been all these talks about work-life balance, but we kind of see one with the pandemic, we've seen that one is kind of the continuity of the other, and if we're not really looking after ourselves as individuals, then the kind of work that we're going to produce is not going to be of quality, or there's going to be gaps in the quality that we're gonna see, and like it might be a way of life, it might be a lifestyle. I don't know what we want to call this, but there's a bigger mission that's above what we're trying to build with Dawn. It's really to empower any of the companies out there to start thinking more about how they're bringing mental health and the well-being of their people into the work, and that's gonna impact work a lot. There's all these statistics out there that are already, like people that are taking time off, days off, sick days, all of these, like the productivity is going down because of personal situations. Whereas if you start tackling those issues before they become a big problem, then everything is gonna fall into place. Yeah. And that's kind of what we are thinking about.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess throughout your whole journey building Dawn, you've also you've sort of taken up building in public, which, if people don't know, building in public is basically, as the name says, you kind of share what you're doing, what you're releasing, your challenges. Maybe if you talk to somebody really great and they give you some advice, you're constantly sharing in public what you're doing, what you're building, and everything that comes with that, right? It could be how much money you're making, how many users you have, if we're talking more about like the number side of it, but then also just how you're feeling about the project in general. Like, I think I'm headed in the right direction. I don't think I am. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's some steps I'm going to take to kind of get a little bit clearer on my objective. And feel free to, obviously, I think you're doing this day to day with Dawn. You're building in public. So how would you say that building in public has like helped you as a person, if you want, a founder, right? And then how has it helped the product? So kind of comparing both sides to this kind of building in public mentality. How's that been for you so far?
It's been great. And you said that very well. It's about when you're building in public, you really try to get feedback as early as possible, trying to potentially be a bit more accountable. All of these kinds of things are interesting in their own respect. The one thing that's really been driving me into doing this building public thing is there's kind of two things. There's all these there's really huge project management companies that are building massive products out there, and they have pretty big funding behind them, and they have really huge teams. Us being focused so much on people in the product, we saw it a very important piece of the puzzle with my founder, and it's trying to get feedback about mental health as early as possible. And mental health is when it comes to productivity, there's all of these things that we don't really consider at a glance, but they are really important. Like, someone with ADHD is not going to be planning the way they work the same as people that don't have it, and people with autism, they're not going to plan work the same way as everybody else. And why we've been building public is really to try and get that kind of feedback as early as possible, so we can bring it back into the product and have it the best possible product for everyone, not just one portion of the population, but everyone. It's been really good. Also, like the fact that I don't speak English as a first language, and it's language and communication is something that's really important. And I've realized, I've learned a lot as I've been putting my work out there. Some people have been like, oh, this word, you probably think that it means this, but it actually also means this. And it's if I wasn't building in public, I wouldn't get that kind of feedback. And it's kind of critical for us to do it this way, just people first, and sharing it with people is empowering. It's critical because we get really important feedback, and we can just iterate on the product and have it the best we can.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I mentioned this previously, but I've tried to do building in public. I think for me, I have some fear, right, with like sharing everything, and just because of, I think, just society in general, right? A lot of us keep a lot of things to ourselves, and we only share really good things that happen. Like if I were to, if you guys were to get funding, right, you share that, but maybe you don't share everything else. Or if I were to hire somebody new that's really great from another company, I might share that, but I might not share that we just lost somebody, right, recently because it wasn't a good fit. So I think I guess when you think about building in public, if somebody's kind of like fearing sharing everything, how did you kind of overcome that fear, right? Of like sharing everything and kind of being okay with it being online, right? And not really, I guess, doubting yourself that, oh, maybe I shouldn't share this because it's like too much information. So how do you get over that little maybe barrier or blocker in your head, or even if maybe you don't have that at all, but if not, what would you say to other people that might be might be facing that?
Yeah. I think it's very much tied to mental health as a whole. You know, like um, in my early years, I've been through a lot of really rough situations personally, and I was always keeping things to myself. And with mental health, the more you speak to people, the better you can get, because you're sharing that burden, you're sharing these fears with someone else, and they will try to help you as much as they can, and therefore you're trying to find keys to unlock some situations. And I think with building in public, it's very much the same. You know, like we could keep everything to ourselves, and we would learn, we would grow. But by trying to be comfortable with the fact that we can be vulnerable, we're going to fail, we will make some mistakes, and that's very much part of life, and that's very much part of how we can grow faster as well. That's kind of the thing that's been driving us. I think it's, you know, like it's not always comfortable talking about very personal things. And um, of course there will always be people that will try to profit or benefit from these things. But I think in general, I've realized by sharing more and more about my mental health and the failures that I've had also when I was trying to build some part of the product and all these things, it's always more beneficial than it's not. Like people are always more caring because they realize the amount of work that you put into what you're trying to build, and they kind of care about that because they are going through the same things in their personal lives or in their professional lives. So it's about, you know, like, yes, it won't be comfortable sharing everything, and there might be some times where I hold back also in certain situations. I'm like, I want to share this, and I'm like, okay, maybe not this time. It's not always. I don't share everything and everything, but it's about, you know, like our mind is very much protective with what we're sharing, and sometimes it's not a good thing for us that it's that protective. Yes, we want to not be in a uncomfortable situation, and it's harder to get out of the comfort zone. But once we, you know, like we start small, we do a little bit more, and then we see the benefits that we get back, and we see how much how much faster we're growing, how much better we're growing. Then we realize that it's actually a good thing to do, and people are actually more caring than they are, trying to be vile, I think.
Very true. Yeah, I think I mean I follow a number of people that build in public on Twitter and everything, and I don't think I've ever seen a terrible like a terrible tweet as a reply to people that are sharing like their revenue numbers. It's usually like either here's some feedback, like things that I would do or I would think about, or congratulations, that's awesome, like keep going. I've never seen a bad comment where it's like you shouldn't be sharing this online. So I think the community as a whole is really open and wants to see other people succeed. So I think that's probably where it stems from too. It's like we're really much trying to help each other where we can with whatever we're doing. So I think that's super awesome. And I think if anybody that's listening wants to learn more about building in public or just follow Damien and kind of seeing how he's doing it, I think Damien will share his Twitter handle and everything, and we can link everything in the show notes. But we are about to wrap up. It is coming up on time for our conversation, but it's been awesome talking to you and learning more about Dawn and kind of just your perspective on mental health and building for people that are usually not accounted for with software. So I think that's awesome. And do you have any kind of any links, anything you want to like just share, like any that the folks listening can kind of like check out, whether it's like a blog, Dawn, signing up for beta, your Twitter, feel free to, share anything that you'd want folks to take a look at, check out, follow you on, etc.
Yeah, I think if they go on the main website, goodasdone.com, they can register the interest. We have a soft launch version running right now, but we are getting really close to opening up to a lot more people, and it's gonna we're actually working on the personal planner, which is also a very good feature. We're working on that in July, and as soon as it's ready, and then we'll open it up for a lot more people to start using it, and hopefully start looking after their mental health.
Yeah, 100%. Again, thank you, Damien, for coming on. All the links to Dawn, Damien's Twitter, everything will be on the blog post where this will live. So yeah, if you're watching, check those out, and also follow Damien's journey along. I'm really excited to just see like where you take Dawn and how it grows. I think a year from now, it might have grown like a huge ton. So I'm super excited for you and your team to take it far. So yeah, thank you again for hopping on today, Damien. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
See ya.
All right, take care. Bye.